First and foremost, we must understand what God said about marriage. Genesis 2:24 says, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh." So based on God's word, we see that the intention for males are to be raised up in God's design and eventually leave the care of his father and mother and be joined to his wife, where they will become one flesh. And this is not just an Old Testament concept. Paul reiterates this in Ephesians 5:31. He writes, "Therefore a man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh." It was Voddie Baucham Jr. who said, "Marriage was designed for God for procreation, sanctification, and illustration." In other words, God's purpose for marriage is very clear. We are to procreate, we are to grow each other in ways of the Lord, and we are to reflect the unity of the Godhead. The scriptures are very clear that men are to leave home and be joined to a wife. And what intrigues me most is the end of the passage. "The two shall become one flesh." And what exactly did God intend here when he said that man and woman would become one flesh? Well, based on the biblical account, God created Eve from a rib taken from Adam's side as he slept. Because of this, Adam recognized that Eve was part of him, that they were in fact one flesh. This literally means that just as our bodies are one whole entity and cannot be divided, our union in marriage is the reflection of this. There are no longer two, but one. The union between a man and a woman takes precedence over all past and future relationships, including our children, as hard as that may seem. Couples who enter into this godly covenant are to be one physically, emotionally, spiritually, intellectually, and any other way possible. Second, we must understand what God said about man's role in the home as a husband. Ephesians 5:25 says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her." Simply put, husbands are to love their wives with God's kind of love. And the Greek word for love here is agape love. This love is selfless, it's sacrificial and unconditional. This means you love and expect nothing in return. For husbands to love their wives in this way, they must truly desire what's best for their wives and work for that, no matter the cost. I mean, this passage gives us the standard. The standard is Jesus Christ. And what is the greatest thing that Jesus did for his church? Well, he laid down his life for her. But that was not all he did for her. He is sanctifying her and he is purifying her and making her holy. As husbands, we are to follow this example. We are to be pursuing holiness and leading our wives to do the same. Jay Adams said it best in this quote, and it convicted my heart in a deep way. He said, "To be like Jesus Christ in relationship to your wife is an enormous order to fill. You are to be the head of your home, including your wife, just as Christ is the head of the church. When you fail, you not only fail your wife, you also fail to represent your Lord's love for his church. That is why your task is such a solemn one. When you fail to reflect him in your marriage, you damage his name. You are called to show forth Jesus Christ by the leadership that you exercise in your home." Men, there is much at stake as we lead our wives.